Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the straps of her elegant navy blue dress for the 10th time that evening. The soft silk clung to her curves perfectly, but no matter how much she smoothed it out, the knots in her stomach refused to untangle. Tonight was going to be brutal. She could already picture the whispers, the smug smiles, the pitying glances from the people she had grown up with but never truly belonged to. The gala invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago, the annual Eastwood Charity Ball, hosted by none other than the Hawthorns, one of the wealthiest families in the city. It wasn't that Emma loved these high society events. In fact, she loathed them. But her mother insisted. "It's good for business," she had said in that sharp tone that left no room for argument. Emma's family wasn't poor, but compared to the people she would be surrounded by tonight, they might as well have been invisible. Her parents owned a small but respectable antique shop. Hard work kept the bills paid, but it didn't buy the illusion of luxury that these gatherings demanded. Emma wasn't worried about the dress, the jewelry, or the expensive perfume she had borrowed from her mother's vanity. No, what she dreaded most was the inevitable question: "So, Emma, who are you seeing these days?" Because everyone knew her ex-fiancé, Jonathan Blake, would be there with his new girlfriend. The same Jonathan who had broken off their engagement 6 months ago with the heartless excuse, "You're sweet, Emma, but you're not enough." Not enough. 2 words that had burned themselves into her memory. Which was why Emma had done something she never thought she would do. Something crazy. Something desperate. She had hired a date. Not just any date, but a fake boyfriend service she had stumbled upon online after a glass too many of wine. The reviews were surprisingly good, and the man she had chosen, well, his profile picture alone made her jaw drop. Tall, dark hair, piercing green eyes, a smile that could melt glaciers. His name was Alex, and according to his bio, he was charming, discreet, and excellent at making exes regret their life choices. Perfect. Exactly what she needed. Now, as the clock ticked closer to 7 p.m., Emma paced the floor of her apartment, glancing at the door every few seconds. Her pulse quickened when the knock finally came. She opened it, and froze. The man standing there was even more devastatingly handsome in person. Broad shoulders, a perfectly tailored black suit that looked like it belonged in a fashion magazine, and those eyes, God, those eyes were trouble. "Emma." His voice was deep, smooth, with the faintest trace of amusement. She swallowed hard. "Yes, Alex." He smiled, and it was like someone turned up the dimmer switch in the hallway. "That's me." For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. Then, remembering her manners, she stepped aside. "Come in." Alex entered, moving with an easy confidence that made her feel like a nervous schoolgirl. He set down his coat and glanced around her modest apartment without judgment, which somehow made her like him more. "You look stunning," he said, and the sincerity in his tone made warmth bloom in her chest. "Thank you," she murmured, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "So, do you need me to brief you on anything?" "Just the basics," he said, settling onto the edge of her sofa. "Your name, which I already know. A little about you, and what kind of impression you want to make tonight." Emma sat across from him, clutching her clutch bag like a lifeline. "Well, I want them to believe we've been dating for a few months. That we're happy, and maybe that you're crazy about me." His lips curved into a slow smile. "That won't be hard." She felt her cheeks heat up. This was going to be harder than she thought, pretending, that is. As they drove to the venue in Alex's sleek black car, Emma tried to calm the flutter in her stomach. He wasn't real. This wasn't real. It was just an arrangement. A performance. So why did it feel like the opening scene of a romance movie? When they arrived at the Grand Eastwood estate, Emma braced herself for the onslaught of glittering chandeliers, champagne flutes, and judgmental eyes. She stepped out of the car, her arm looped through Alex's, and for the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt seen, because everyone was looking at him. And by extension, at her. "Ready," he murmured, his breath brushing her ear. She nodded, her pulse pounding. Inside, the ballroom shimmered with opulence. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, their light bouncing off gold-trimmed mirrors. A string quartet played in the corner, while servers floated by with trays of champagne. Emma caught a few heads turning as they entered, women eyeing Alex with open admiration, men sizing him up with barely concealed envy. Perfect, she thought. Let them look. And then she saw him. Jonathan, standing near the bar with a woman draped on his arm like expensive silk. The sight still stung, though Emma forced her lips into a bright smile. "Emma," Jonathan drawled when their eyes met. "I wasn't sure you'd make it." His gaze flicked to Alex, and something sharp flashed in his eyes. "And, you brought a date." "Yes," Emma said sweetly, tightening her grip on Alex's arm. "Jonathan, this is Alex. My boyfriend." Alex extended his hand, his expression perfectly pleasant. "Nice to meet you." Jonathan shook it, his smile tight. "Likewise. And what do you do, Alex?" There it was, the question. Emma's stomach nodded. They hadn't planned that part. But Alex didn't even blink. "I run a small business," he said casually, his green eyes glinting with mischief. "Keeps me busy, but I always make time for the important things." He glanced at Emma, and the warmth in his gaze made her knees weak. Jonathan looked unimpressed, which only made Alex lean closer to Emma, brushing a kiss against her temple so naturally that Emma nearly forgot to breathe. As the night wore on, Alex played his role flawlessly. He held her hand, laughed at her jokes, whispered little compliments that made her heart race. And yet, none of it felt forced. If this was acting, he deserved an Oscar. Halfway through the evening, Emma excused herself to the powder room just to catch her breath. Her reflection in the mirror looked like someone else, flushed cheeks, sparkling eyes. God, she was in trouble. When she returned, Alex was at the bar, chatting with an older gentleman who seemed captivated by him. She approached just in time to hear Alex say, "Pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Hawthorne. I'll have my assistant send over the details tomorrow." Emma blinked. Details. Assistant. Before she could process that, Alex turned, his smile softening when he saw her. "There you are," he said, sliding an arm around her waist. "Missed you." The warmth in his voice made her forget the question bubbling in her mind. Later, as the gala wound down, Jonathan made one last attempt to get under her skin. "Good to see you happy, Emma," he said, his tone dripping with insincerity. "Alex, take care of her. She needs someone who can provide." Before Emma could snap back, Alex spoke, his voice calm but edged with steel. "Emma doesn't need anyone to provide. She's extraordinary on her own. I'm just lucky she lets me be in her life." Emma's breath caught. Jonathan looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. And in that moment, Emma realized something. Alex wasn't just pretending to care. That look in his eyes, it was real. The drive back to her apartment was quiet at first, the city lights flickering past the windows. Emma finally worked up the courage to ask, "What was that about?" "Details. With Mr. Hawthorne." Alex hesitated, then smiled wryly. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "Hear what?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I wasn't completely honest earlier. I don't run a small business. I own several investments, tech startups, that sort of thing." He glanced at her, his expression unreadable. Well, I guess the word people use is millionaire." Emma stared at him, stunned. "You're kidding." "No." His lips curved into a faint smile. "I started working when I was 16. Got lucky with a few ideas. The rest snowballed." She shook her head, trying to process this. "So, you're rich, and you signed up for a fake date service because, why?" His smile softened. "Because I like doing normal things. Meeting normal people, not the ones who see me as a bank account." His gaze held hers, intense and unguarded. "And then I met you." Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. "But this was supposed to be pretend." "Was it?" he murmured, reaching over to take her hand. His thumb brushed her knuckles, sending shivers up her arm. "Because nothing about tonight felt fake to me." Emma's breath hitched. She wanted to argue, to remind herself of the boundaries she had drawn, but the truth was undeniable. She didn't want this to be fake either. When they pulled up to her apartment, she didn't move to open the door. Neither did he. The silence between them was thick with unspoken words. Finally, Alex leaned closer, his voice a low whisper. "Tell me to leave, and I will. But if you feel what I feel," his lips hovered inches from hers, "then let me kiss you." Emma's heart pounded so hard it hurt. And then, with a shaky breath, She whispered, "Don't leave." His mouth met hers in a kiss that was slow, deep, and everything she hadn't known she was starving for. When they finally pulled apart, Emma was breathless, her head spinning. Alex rested his forehead against hers, his voice husky. "I don't want to be your fake date, Emma," he said softly. "I want to be real." And for the first time in months, Emma believed in the possibility of something real, something extraordinary. Because sometimes, the best things in life come disguised as the last thing you expect.